Well, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I am one of your hosts, David Gussler, and I am here with my co-hosts, Matt Swift. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, David. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. And we actually have our producer extraordinaire behind the scenes here with us today, too. So Corey Ensko. But we have a really exciting episode today. We have a special guest. And so we have Charlotte FC keeper, George Marks. So George, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me on.
We're excited to have you on, but I know Matt's been dying to, connect with you and ask you some questions. So I'm going to hand it over to him, and we can get started to get to know you some more here, sir.
Sounds good.
So I actually, George, first, thanks for coming on the show, but I need your help real quick. So we have some Mint City Collective members that think they're comedians and think they're really funny. So last episode, your name got brought up, and we were talking about height and everything like that, and you're listed as 6'1". Is that your true height? You're 6'1"?
There's probably a slight bit of rounding there, but I am above 6 foot. Confirmed. Okay. Factual.
Because I was like, we were talking about keepers that are, not as tall, and I brought up Jorge Campos. He's one of my favorite keepers of all time, and I was like, you don't have to be tall to be a goalkeeper. And then I said how tall I am, and then of course all my pals and members don't agree that I said I'm 5'7", and they I guess they think that I'm like 5'2" or something like that. I'm not sure, but anyway, so I wanted to first verify your height so everybody will shut up. But second, growing up or in college or even now, has anybody ever said anything about your height, or has anybody kind of given you a little bit of grief about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, throughout probably every stage, there's been a bit of doubt. And I mean, that's especially in the American game. But really the worldwide game, I mean, height and frame is usually probably the main thing you think of when it comes to goalkeepers. So definitely a stigma that you have to fight a little bit against. But I think it's been really helpful that on the world stage, international stage, top clubs, there's a lot of goalkeepers my height who have had fantastic careers and proved that there's different routes. And ultimately, if you're pushing the team forward, helping to results, whether it's playing out of the back with your feet, the way you command your box, there's many ways to go about it. So from guys with from my frame to Courtois' frame, it's really good.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I first started playing soccer, I played goalkeeper, and I had to overcompensate. I had to jump high, right? Because I'm not tall. So I feel like you have that kind of similar skill set where you jump really well and you can cover ground really, really well. Is that something that you've continued to work on? Is that something in training now that you maybe off to the side work on still, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, constantly it's something that I'm speaking about all the time with the goalkeeper coaches here, Brian Edwards and Andy Guy previously. But yeah, I mean, kind of just working for my specific skill set. It's not one size fits all,
right?
Because we've got Adrian Zendejas here who's 6'5". His movement and the way he plays is going to be very different from me at 6 and a little bit. So, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, a lot of that looks like using probably my best talents, which is my spring and my quickness laterally and the way I'm athletic. So trying to not only use that strength, but build upon it and just find the way that gives me the most confidence to play and give the team the best results.
Nice. So we ask a bunch of fans for their questions, and so we got a good bit. We had to cut it down some to fit this in, but so we only know his Twitter handle, and it's DB's Hot Takes. So he wanted to ask, and we were just talking about just a little bit, what was your upbringing like as a player? How did you get started, and how did you get into Clemson and everything like that? What was your trajectory?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is great. I mean, I've spoken about it on a lot of different platforms, saying how much it means to me to be here and to play in this stadium in this city in front of these fans. So I mean, starting there, I mean, I lived in Raleigh since I was 7 or 8, and kind of bounced around a few different travel teams. I don't have like a goalkeeper origin story like a lot of guys do. I just was thrown into goal and like all goalkeeper psychos, kind of just loved it and stuck with it. Around, like 10 years old, I think I maybe fancied myself a striker before that, which also most goalkeepers do. So scoring goals to stopping goals. And then I kind of made it into the Castle system, now NCFC, the big Raleigh League. And I remember U12 was the first time I played with them, and I was on the third team, Premier Black is what it was called. So it's pretty far down the ladder of like the youth soccer ladder there. And then each year kind of went up a team until, and the first few years they had what it was called the academy team, which was the top team that did the most traveling and everything. And I got cut from that the first 2 years, didn't make it. So that was like terrible adversity for me. I just remember it. And then I eventually, U16, made it as the third string goalie on that team. And everything kind of was a bit more linear after that. So by the end of that year, I was the starter on that team. And I jumped up and was playing up with the U18s the next year. And Clemson saw me and pretty soon was committed around the start of my junior year. Oh, yeah, I failed to mention as well, my dad is kind of who got me into it. I was playing baseball and soccer was kind of it going all the way through. And my dad's a big baseball guy. He's not a soccer guy by trade. Yeah. So probably played baseball about 2 years longer than I should have, just because I didn't want to break my dad's heart. So I was like, tried to balance it for as long as possible. But yeah, when I was 13 or 14, just stuck to soccer. But jumping back. So yeah, I mean, that kind of leads up to Clemson. Right towards the end of my high school career, my next biggest goal was to make like a youth national team, and was really proud to get called up to the U20s twice there at the end, which gave me a good platform going into Clemson. And then obviously at Clemson, some of the best years of my life, and really feel like I developed as a goalkeeper and a man. So,
you did pretty good at Clemson.
Could have done worse, huh?
So that leads me to the next fan question. So Alex Gravely asked, what's the biggest difference between Clemson and Charlotte FC in the terms of your day-to-day training? And then Michael Volak has kind of a similar question. What's the biggest difference, if there is any, between your training at Clemson and your training now?
Yeah, I'd say, just to kind of sum into one question, I mean, it just is a big step up. I think overall the level is just so much higher as far as the quality of players and what guys are playing for. I mean, here you're playing for money, you're playing for a livelihood, you're playing for your families, which is just a whole different level of pressure and expectation every single day. But no, especially within the goalkeeper group, everyone's professional. Everyone wants to play. Everyone at one point was the big fish in their small pond, and it's kind of the classic tale of as you go up that pyramid, it just the margins get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's incredibly tough and competitive. But no, it's been a change that I've really enjoyed because since I really made that jump into serious soccer around 14 or 15, this has been the dream I've been building to be able to live this pressure every single day. So it's been an absolute joy.
Nice. So Becca Meacham asked, are there any Clemson like game day traditions that you still try to incorporate into your routine?
Absolutely. I am a routine-based guy. I think just about anybody who knows me would point that out first. So I like going about things the way I like to go about things. So there's a few things. Probably the most notable one, something I didn't create. Our strength conditioning coach at Clemson, Rick Franzblau, was fantastic. Created was, we called it priming. So 7 hours before game day, on the game day, we would go into the gym and basically just get like super jacked up, pumped up, and do a really quick upper body lift. And like just get a little sweat on. It's like a little bit of mobility, but it's mostly just like a lot of like screaming and yelling. And the science behind it was that you peak your testosterone a little bit later in the day so that your testosterone levels are theoretically higher later on. I have not looked into the science myself, but it was really fun. So I ran with it.
Mentally it worked.
Yeah. So I could not convince the team to start doing that, but I try to do it myself. So I waddle down to my gym in my apartment complex around 12, and I just try to, listen to some feel good music and get after it, get a little sweat on.
So what you're saying is that your apartment complex, people are walking by the gym and they're just hearing you scream and shout right before game days is what's happening.
It's not necessarily that. It's more like just banging my head against the wall.
Oh.
So yeah, it's,
Gotcha.
it's an odd sight, but it works
awesome.
for me. So
Very nice. So next question from Andy, and she always has some pretty great questions, but she just wants to know, like, who's your favorite goalkeeper in all the world?
currently or all time?
Just all time, or both. How about both?
I'd say all time Buffon. It was
Okay.
always Buffon good enough for me. My next door neighbor, my best friend, he was adopted by an Italian family, and we would go in and we would watch YouTube clips of Buffon, like Buffon top 100 saves. And then
Yeah.
we'd watch like Totti highlights, and we'd go out in the front yard, and he would be Totti, and I'd be Buffon. We'd just go at it.
That's awesome.
So yeah, definitely Buffon. But no, now in the modern game, I mean, just a lot of guys who I think just are similar to my frame, like to play the same way. David Raya at Brentford. I really like Jan Sommer, Mönchengladbach. Some guys like that. Kasper Schmeichel, who Fuchs he actually got me a jersey earlier this year. Which is probably
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, to name a few.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
really, really cool. Yeah, Michael's pretty incredible. Let me ask you this, though. So, and Jeremy wants to know this, too. Who out of the current goalkeepers at the club is the best at goalie wars?
That's a silly question.
We're going to assume that's you, right?
I'm going to answer. It is me.
Yeah. Nice.
So I've seen you kick and punt, and that could be
Yeah.
really dangerous, too, on the offense.
That's winning for me. That is
Yeah.
what's winning. Saving ability, I think there's some small margins we'll see, but I don't. Don't get me wrong. These guys here, I love them. They're great goalkeepers, but in this hypothetical, they're toast.
Nice.
How did you develop your like kicking style? Because I think Brittany, I think from the team was posting some stuff. I was like, holy crap! Like, and I've seen you in warm ups. How did you develop that?
Just a lot of repetition. Yeah, just pure repetition. Just staying out on the field after every session and going out probably when I shouldn't have been on the field, just hitting balls, still my leg to the wall. Yeah.
All right. So you also think do you also think you're the best like PK goalie as well too when it comes to like shootouts?
I mean, I'm going to take myself, but I will say Pablo spends a lot of time doing penalties. So
Okay.
Graham Broderick goes in the mirror, just is in the window looking at me on a funny basis. So. But, no, I'd say, Clean is decent as well. I'll give this one to Pablo, but I still fancy myself we're going against each other.
And so I guess you guys practice these like after your normal training. Who's like taking these PKs against you? Is it somebody from like Brant who was just messing with you, or like someone like that, or?
Brant is not. He does a lot of things well. The shooting of the ball is probably not his top thing. No, I'm not the biggest PK guy. Rios loves PKs.
Yeah.
Kerwin loves PKs. Yeah, maybe it's just a South American thing, but there's a lot of guys after training or any spare moment in training will look to get a PK.
Well, since you have to face it, who do you think is the best PK taker on the team?
Ooh. Fuchs is up there. I'd say Fuchs or Rios.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, both are pretty solid. Jessica Charman wants to know something, though. She wants to know, could you save her penalty?
I would catch her penalty.
Okay. Oh.
I've seen her throw water balloons, and she is a maniac when it comes to pretty much anything like athletic wise. We had a thing where you could throw water balloons at Matt Chantry at one of our tailgates for charity, and it's like $5 a toss. And like water balloons don't seem dangerous, but the way she was throwing them, and it was pretty frightening. So I would be scared to go up against her in PKs, but she wanted me to ask. So I asked.
Maybe I need to watch some film. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. So.
So next question from Bridget McCall. What do you think is your biggest takeaway from the first season, and what would you like to see yourself in 2023?
It's a good question. Quite broad. My biggest takeaway. Yeah, I mean, I'd say just ultimately just the ins and outs of the league and just kind of how to conduct myself as a pro. Because I think I've been trying to conduct myself pretty professionally from the moment I came in here and probably a few years before, but ultimately getting to this level is pretty different. And we have some really good pros on our team who know how to live the life. Brant Veronica probably being a perennial one. So, I mean, kind of just learning how to live the life, how to pace yourself, because it's such a long season, which I think going into next year is something I'd like to see myself do a little bit better, especially physically. It's just, making sure I'm built to give 100% every day. And maybe there's some days where 100% is enough, and then you don't have to do the extras after or something, and save your body and your mind and make sure that you're really built for it for the whole season.
Yeah, so you mentioned Brant. Is there anyone else on the team that you've kind of looked to for leadership in that department?
Yeah, Brant is a good one just because, I mean, we're very similar in a lot of things, and we like to, come pretty early, stay pretty late. So I've had a lot of conversations with him, and I consider him a good friend. Christian Fuchs as well. I mean, just with the career he's had, there's so much to be learned from him, and super appreciative of him. Honestly, everyone in the goalkeeper union, probably namely Kalina and Pablo, just because those are two guys who are a good bit older than me as well, and I've been doing this for a few years. So I think we've got a pretty high standard in the goalkeeper group as far as mentality, talent, the way we go about our lives. So learning from them, taking bits and pieces, seeing the things that work for me and the things that don't work for me. So,
all right. What about going into the next season? You mentioned, pacing yourself, everything like that. Have you found it hard or difficult to have to sit and wait for your chances, or is that something you kind of have to learn over time, just to be patient?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balance. I mean, I think being an elite competitor, you always want to play, and it's always going to bother you to some level if you're not playing, and I think that's normal. But especially as a goalkeeper, patience is truly a virtue. So making sure that, I'm ready for when my moment does come, and ultimately most of my goals are not really outcome based. They're just focused on me, continuing this linear journey of kind of upward mobility that I've been on the last few years, and just really believing in myself and betting on myself that the opportunity will come, and I will take the opportunity with both hands when I get it. And at the moment, just if it is someone else in the net, waiting my turn and being a good teammate and make sure that I'm supporting them and playing my role to the best of my ability.
That's awesome.
Let's stick with this season. So Russell Varner wants to know, and I think everybody would probably want to know, what's your favorite moment of the season, or a couple favorite moments?
Probably a personal favorite moment is just making my MLS debut, my professional debut. Those are some pretty big ones. I mean, anytime you get to play in front of, the fans are pretty unbelievable. Chelsea, I'd obviously put in that as well.
Yeah.
Those are all quite happy moments. The first home game, I mean, just being involved in that at all. I mean, just remember the building was electric, absolutely buzzing. I mean, not even being on the field, but being on the bench. And that's kind of when it really hit me. It's like, oh, wow, I'm in this. Like, this is something real. So, built my pride up even more for this club and for this city and state. So those are probably the main ones. But hey, there's been so many. I mean, I honestly mean it when I say I've thoroughly enjoyed the year. And although we would have all wanted the outcomes to be a little bit differently, and there's individual outcomes that, you'd obviously like to fall your way, it's really been a joy.
Yeah, so we talk about, or the past couple episodes we've talked about, has the season been a success, failure, or whatever you want to call it. As speaking for yourself, how have you viewed this season?
Like from a team perspective?
From a team perspective, personal perspective, like how do you think the season went as kind of expectations for yourself or for the team?
Team-wise, I'd say I would cautiously say it was a success because ultimately, I think if you're in the locker room, you would understand that there's a lot of predictions going into the season and what people might think, but there was not a ton of doubt in the group, especially down the stretch, and there was a pretty solid belief that we were going to be able to do this and that the results that we were getting, maybe that we were overachieving by some standards, but that we always wanted more. It was never enough. But I'd be very hesitant to label it a failure just because, you just look at, first off, the fans. I think we've entertained the fans pretty constantly throughout, which has got to be, is something to be said for that. Because ultimately that's what we do it for, is you've got 35,000 people in the stadium, and they want to see passion. They want to see a team that cares and gives them something dynamic. And I think we were able to give that on the field. And at the same time, from building from zero to what we have now, I think we've come so far. So I think, I would label it a success for sure. And then individually, I'd say the back end of the season, just due to recency bias, I probably am more likely to have a negative spin on it. But I think it's really important to me to look over the season as a whole and to look back over my goals, which I'm pretty intentional in setting, and seeing that I did accomplish all my goals for the season. And if you had told me I'd be in this position a year ago today, I'd absolutely take it. So there's something to be grateful for, something to smile about.
Yeah, for sure. So let's pivot away from the season now, and let's talk a little bit about off the field stuff. You're very good about doing stuff in the community. Is there anything that you're going to be focusing on? Anything that you're passionate about, kind of off the field work?
Yeah, I just want to expand. I just really want to do more. There's definitely a few areas where I'm probably the most passionate, but I like to try to get my hand in as much as possible. Because I think that it's so rewarding just because moving from youth to college to pro, I like to consider myself relatively grounded, and I just kind of go about my business and live by my values. But when you see people in the community, kids especially, it really gives you a sense of how big it is what we're doing, like with the team in the city, and using that platform it's just such a good side effect from all of the hard work I've done over the years, and it really is a blessing. So it's any way that I can try to make someone's day or actually tangibly affect their life, whether it be financially or with service, I'm going to try to do it. So hopefully in the next year, just expand more and more and get more of the guys on the team into it, because it means so much.
Yeah, one of the things that come to mind too is the unified team. I thought that was very, very special. We got to go see them train and everything like that, and a lot of the players were out there helping. So that was really cool to see. I thought, I'm glad that we're one of the teams that's doing that. Are you going to help continue with that, or train, or help? Like I think they're playing 2 more games next season. I can't remember, but is there any plans to help with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Our head of community relations, Dustin Swinehart, does such a good job, and he's really on the ball. So it's really just a matter of connecting the opportunities with the unified team, with all these different projects that we have going on, to the players, and there had to be some infrastructure that had to be put in just because we didn't really have it. So finding ways, especially to the international players, bridging these language gaps to just get the opportunities from the ground where they're happening, to making sure that we can get as many players there as possible. Because usually when players attend, it's always a success. I don't think we've really had any times where anyone on either side, the people who are being served or us serving, have had a negative experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It was one of my favorite things to see this season. And like I said, I'm glad we're doing that. So I know you guys are training still, right? You just came back from training. There was a closed door session. We won't ask the score or anything like that, but do you feel like that went well for just the training purposes?
Yeah. Overall, it went pretty well. I mean, I think it's always going to be a little bit tough just because we are in off-season training, and a lot of teams in the MLS have shut things down for the season. But, Coach Latanzio's been saying it. We've been saying it, is just trying to do things in a different way to get different results. I mean, ultimately, it means so much to us, honestly, the support that we've gotten from the fans, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And we don't want to produce a result on the field that isn't, worthy of that. So if it means staying a few weeks later and people staying away from their families, whether they live in Europe, South America, wherever, and delaying that just so we can get some work in that other people are not doing, it's going to be something that we're going to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Latanzio was saying that he wanted you guys to get used to playing throughout MLS Cup, to get used to playing deeper into the season, which I think is pretty amazing. How's the team responding to that? Is everybody like, oh my God, I thought we were going to get a break, or is everybody really enthusiastic to keep going?
I think overall in the group, it's been a pretty good response. I mean, I think it's been explained quite well by Coach, as that we're trying to, change, like not actually change a culture, build a culture of elite success around here. And it's going to take uncomfortable things. It's going to take different things. So this is a route that we've decided to take, and I think everyone's ultimately bought into what Coach is saying, and we're going to follow wherever we need to.
Awesome.
All right, so now some fun questions about, all right, once you're done with training, the season's officially in, like what are some of the fun stuff that you have planned in the off season?
It's a great question. I'm still trying to plan those, but yeah. Probably, I mean, a lot of it's just going to be spending time with my family. I mean, even though they are pretty close by in Raleigh, haven't seen them as much as I'd like to. My sister goes to the University of Michigan, so I'm hoping in the next few weekends to get up to her and see a Michigan football game. My aunt and uncle own a house up in New York on a lake, so probably just try to, it's in the middle of nowhere. Try to leave my phone somewhere and just disconnect and be with the family. But yeah, just ultimately it's going to be something to distract me a little bit, because I know that my mind and body does need a rest, because it's been a long year and I never really stopped after the NCAA season last year. Mm-hmm. So I know I need a rest, but I'm not usually the best at taking that rest. So it's just going to be finding a way to take that rest.
Will someone from the team like help you stay, like, keep your diet? Do they check in on you, or they're like, oh, you're on your own, go do your thing? Or will you have someone like, hey, don't eat pizza every day?
I think at the moment, for me, they will probably be more angry if I do reach out to them. That should be, please, just 2 weeks, chill, come back. That's kind of the message I've gotten. But no, of course, and we have so many great resources around here, from Alicia, our dietitian, to, everyone in strength and conditioning, to the trainers. It's really unbelievable. So any resource I want is afforded to me, but I think that there is a time and place to take a mental and physical break and step away from it so it'll be fresher next year.
Well, you certainly deserve it, sir. I thought you guys had an incredible year. As a fan, I enjoyed it. So I know I want to be cognizant of your time too. I know you just got done training. You probably want to go do something else. So David, Corey, do you have anything else for George here?
Only other question I got is when are you and Bobby going to get together and make sure the Tigers get to the national championship?
Man, you're telling me. They got a big game tonight against the Wolves. Big game tonight. No, I've been down a few times, and Bobby's been down, I know, a few times to root them on. But, yeah, once a Tiger, always a Tiger. That's our way. the way it goes.
There's a lot of you there, right? Brittany won 2. Who else?
Brittany, Quinn. Yeah, it's a lifestyle around here. I mean, ultimately, the more Clemson Tigers you get around, usually is correlated to success.
There you go.
That's what we want.
There you go.
All right. Well, George, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and chat with us. Have some fun in the off season, and looking forward to seeing what you could do next season, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for all the support this season and for having me on.
For sure.
Thanks, George.